Ancient Rome has captured the imagination of people for centuries, but with its rich history also comes a plethora of misconceptions and myths. In this video, we will explore 10 of the most popular misconceptions or myths surrounding ancient Rome and shed light on the historical inaccuracies that have perpetuated these beliefs. 1. Gladiators were all slaves. While it is true that some gladiators were slaves, many free men willingly chose to become gladiators. While it is true that some gladiators were indeed slaves, it is important to recognize that many free men willingly chose to become gladiators for various reasons, including the pursuit of fame and fortune. This misconception stems from a generalization of the gladiator profession based on a subset of individuals who were enslaved and forced into this role. However, historical evidence suggests that there were also individuals from different social backgrounds who voluntarily entered into the world of gladiatorial combat. By acknowledging this historical nuance, we can gain a more accurate understanding of the diverse motivations and circumstances surrounding those who participated in this ancient form of entertainment for fame and fortune. 2. Romans wore togas all the time. Togas were actually reserved for formal occasions and high-ranking individuals. In everyday life, Romans wore more practical clothing such as tunics. Togas were actually considered formal attire and were reserved for special occasions and high-ranking individuals in Roman society. In their everyday lives, Romans opted for more practical clothing known as tunics. Tunics were simple, loose-fitting garments made of wool or linen that hung down to the knees or ankles. They were worn by both men and women and came in various styles, lengths, and colors. Tunics provided comfort and ease of movement, making them suitable for the activities of daily life. 3. All Romans lived in grand villas. While wealthy Romans did live in luxurious villas, the majority of the population lived in modest apartments called insulae. During the time of ancient Rome, there was a stark contrast in living conditions between the wealthy and the majority of the population. While it is true that wealthy Romans lived in grand villas, it is important to note that this was not representative of all Romans. In fact, the majority of Romans lived in modest apartments known as insulae. The grand villas were typically owned by aristocrats and members of the elite class. These luxurious homes were sprawling estates with multiple rooms, gardens, courtyards, and even private baths. They were a sign of wealth and status, often adorned with intricate decorations and elaborate furnishings. On the other hand, insulae were multi-story apartment buildings that housed a large portion of the population. These structures were made up of small living spaces called insula, or insulae in Latin, hence their name. The apartments within these buildings were quite basic compared to the grandeur of villas. Insulae were often cramped and overcrowded, with several families sharing a single building. The apartments themselves consisted of small rooms without much privacy or amenities. Basic necessities such as running water and sanitation facilities were limited or absent altogether. It is important to recognize that while some Romans enjoyed opulent lifestyles in grand villas, this was not representative of the majority. The average Roman citizen resided in modest living conditions within insulae due to economic constraints. Understanding these contrasting living arrangements provides us with valuable insights into social hierarchies and disparities during ancient Roman times. 4. Roman emperors were always tyrants. While some emperors like Nero and Caligula gained infamy for their cruelty, there were also benevolent rulers like Marcus Aurelius who prioritized the well-being of their subjects. The history of the Roman Empire is filled with tales of power, conquest, and leadership. When discussing the emperors of this era, it is important to recognize that not all of them can be categorized as tyrants. While figures like Nero and Caligula may have gained infamy for their cruelty and excesses, there were also emperors who prioritized the well-being of their subjects. One such emperor was Marcus Aurelius. Known for his philosophical insights and stoic beliefs, Marcus Aurelius ruled with a sense of duty and compassion towards his people. During his reign, he implemented policies that aimed to improve the lives of his subjects, focusing on areas such as justice, education, and infrastructure. It is crucial to avoid generalizations when discussing the Roman emperors. Understanding this nuanced perspective allows us to appreciate the complexity of Roman history while avoiding oversimplifications. 5. Roman women had no rights or influence. Although Roman society was patriarchal, women had more rights and freedoms compared to other ancient civilizations. Some women even held positions of power and influence. Contrary to popular belief, Roman women did have some rights and influence within their society. While it is true that Roman society was generally patriarchal, women in ancient Rome enjoyed more rights and freedoms compared to their counterparts in other ancient civilizations. In fact, some women were able to hold positions of power and influence. Although the legal status of Roman women was still inferior to that of men, they were granted certain rights and protections under the law. For instance, they had the right to own property and engage in business transactions. They could also inherit wealth from their family members or husbands. Furthermore, Roman women had a degree of social freedom that was not commonly seen in other ancient societies. They were allowed to participate in public events, attend social gatherings, and even voice their opinions on certain matters. Some women from influential families were able to exercise considerable influence over political decisions through their connections and alliances. There are notable examples of powerful Roman women who defied societal norms and achieved positions of authority. One such example is Livia Drusilla, the wife of Emperor Augustus, who played an active role in politics and exerted significant influence over her husband's decisions. Another prominent figure is Agrippina the Younger, who held great power as the mother of Emperor Nero. While it is important to acknowledge that gender inequalities did exist within Roman society, it is equally crucial to recognize that Roman women had more autonomy and opportunities compared to many other ancient civilizations. 6 Christians were constantly persecuted by Romans. While there were periods of persecution, Christianity was not consistently targeted throughout Roman history. Emperors like Constantine even embraced Christianity later on. Throughout Roman history, there were indeed periods of persecution against Christians. However, it is important to note that this persecution was not a constant state throughout the entire duration of the Roman Empire. While some emperors, such as Nero and Diocletian, were known for their severe persecution of Christians, others like Constantine eventually embraced Christianity and even made it the official religion of the empire. During the early years of Christianity, believers faced sporadic acts of persecution that varied in severity depending on the region and ruler at the time. The reasons behind these persecutions were multifaceted and often tied to political and social factors rather than purely religious ones. For example, under Emperor Nero's rule in AD 64, Christians in Rome faced intense persecution following a fire that destroyed a large part of the city. Nero blamed Christians for this disaster and subjected them to brutal torture and execution. Similarly, during Emperor Diocletian's reign in the late 3rd century AD, there was a systematic effort to eradicate Christianity from the empire. This period witnessed widespread destruction of Christian texts, imprisonment, torture, and martyrdom. However, it is crucial to acknowledge that not all emperors held hostile attitudes towards Christianity. In fact, Emperor Constantine's reign marked a significant turning point in Roman history regarding Christian persecution. After experiencing what he believed was divine intervention before a key battle in AD 312, Constantine converted to Christianity and subsequently issued several edicts granting religious freedom to Christians. Under Constantine's rule and those who followed him as emperors with Christian affiliations or sympathies, Christianity gradually gained acceptance within Roman society. This culminated with Emperor Theodosius I officially declaring Christianity as the state religion in AD 380. 7 all gladiatorial fights ended in death. Contrary to popular belief, not all gladiator battles resulted in death. Many fights were staged with predetermined outcomes or ended when one combatant yielded. Contrary to popular belief, not all gladiatorial fights in ancient Rome ended in death. While it is true that some of these battles were brutal and fatal, many fights were staged with predetermined outcomes or ended when one combatant yielded. Gladiators were highly trained professionals who participated in a variety of contests, ranging from mock battles to highly choreographed displays of skill and athleticism. These events often had rules and regulations in place to ensure the safety of the participants, and the outcome was not always a matter of life or death. 8. The Colosseum was exclusively used for gladiator fights. While gladiator battles did take place at the Colosseum, it also hosted various spectacles, including naval reenactments and animal hunts. The Colosseum, one of Rome's most iconic landmarks, is widely known for its association with gladiator fights. However, it is important to note that this magnificent amphitheater served as a venue for a variety of spectacles beyond just gladiatorial combat. While gladiator battles were indeed a prominent feature of the Colosseum's entertainment repertoire, the amphitheater also hosted other captivating events. One such spectacle was the reenactment of naval battles. The arena would be flooded with water, and elaborate sets depicting ships and seascapes would be constructed for these dramatic displays. In addition to naval reenactments, the Colosseum was also utilized for animal hunts known as venaciones. These hunts involved exotic animals from different parts of the Roman Empire being pitted against each other or human hunters. These thrilling displays showcased the power and dominance of Rome over its conquered territories. The diverse range of events held at the Colosseum highlights its multifunctional nature as an entertainment venue during ancient Roman times. While gladiator fights remain synonymous with this grand structure, it is essential to recognize that they were not its sole purpose. The Colosseum offered an array of captivating spectacles that enthralled audiences and showcased the grandeur and extravagance of Roman culture. 9. Julius Caesar was an emperor of Rome. Although Julius Caesar played a significant role in Roman history, he was never officially crowned as an emperor. He was assassinated before the Empire era began. Julius Caesar, a prominent figure in Roman history, is often associated with the title of emperor. However, it is important to note that he was never officially crowned as an emperor. Despite his influential role and immense power, Caesar's reign was cut short by his assassination before the era of the Roman Empire began. Julius Caesar is widely recognized for his military conquests and political achievements. He played a crucial role in transforming Rome from a republic into an empire. Through various military campaigns and political maneuvers, he established himself as a powerful figure in Roman politics. Caesar's rise to power culminated in his appointment as Dictator Perpetuo, or Dictator in Perpetuity, which granted him unprecedented authority and control over Rome. While this position held significant power, it did not grant him the formal title of emperor. Although Julius Caesar never held the official title of emperor, his impact on Rome cannot be underestimated. His military prowess, political reforms, and charismatic leadership left an indelible mark on Roman history. Today, he remains one of the most well-known figures from ancient Rome and continues to be studied for his contributions to politics and governance. 10. Ancient Romans had poor hygiene. While public baths were popular and accessible to all, Romans valued cleanliness and practiced personal hygiene regularly. Contrary to popular belief, ancient Romans were actually quite conscious of personal hygiene and valued cleanliness. While it is true that public baths were a popular and accessible feature of Roman society, this does not imply that individual hygiene was neglected. In fact, Romans practiced regular personal hygiene as a part of their daily routine. The public baths in ancient Rome served as social hubs where people would gather to relax and socialize. These communal spaces offered various facilities for cleansing the body, such as hot and cold baths, saunas, steam rooms, and even exercise areas. The Romans believed in the therapeutic benefits of bathing and considered it an essential part of maintaining good health. However, it is important to note that access to public baths was not limited to the wealthy or privileged few. They were accessible to people from all walks of life. This meant that even individuals with lower socioeconomic status had the opportunity to maintain personal cleanliness. In addition to utilizing public baths, Romans also practiced personal hygiene on a regular basis. They would clean themselves using water, often mixed with oils or fragrances for added freshness. They used perfumes made from flowers and herbs to keep themselves smelling pleasant. It is worth mentioning that while some aspects of personal hygiene might differ from modern practices due to cultural differences or lack of technological advancements at the time, the general concept of cleanliness was highly valued by ancient Romans. In conclusion, while public baths were indeed popular among ancient Romans for communal bathing experiences, they did not disregard personal hygiene in their day-to-day lives. By dispelling these misconceptions and shedding light on the historical inaccuracies surrounding ancient Rome, we can gain a more accurate understanding of this fascinating civilization.